Welcome to Sisters in Arms. I'm Kerrie Ann Auclair, and this is where we empower minds through education, advocacy, and true stories. So let's get started. So today we have two important special guests and been back, what? How many times have you been on the show so far?
I think this is my third.
Yeah, this is my third too.
Yeah. So welcome back. Thank you. So we have Mike Harris from Gun Owners Action League, the Director of Public Policy, and Toby Leary from Cape Gun Works and also the Civil Rights Coalition. You are the chairman. And you also have a radio show called Rapid Fire Radio. So thanks again. Today is a very important show for me, and I'm sure for you as well. We're going to be talking about the event that's happening April 19th, celebrating Lexington and Concord, the 250th anniversary. So let's start off and talk about it. You want to talk about the field day?
Sure.
Well, a lot going on with that?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's going to be a long day, as they say. So I'm really excited. It all kicks off at 3 a.m. We're doing a recreation of the Midnight Ride, which is going to be really fun. For those of you, who pay attention to history.
Bed in the back of the car somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to need a nap at some point.
Yeah, you can put a trailer on the motorcycle with a cot
Where's
on
Toby?
it, right?
Sleeping.
Yeah. So instead of riding an actual horse, we'll be riding an iron horse, and we'll be riding from Boston to Lexington along the route that Paul Revere took when he was alerting the colonists that the British were coming. And so we're going to simulate that ride. Hopefully there'll be plenty of people joining us, and we might be rumbling through your town and waking you up at 3 a.m. But I think the message is very appropriate, that just like he rode 250 years ago to alert the people of what was happening, we need to alert the people of what was happening.
Right.
Like, this is a serious issue that we'll get into a little bit later. But we'll arrive in Lexington probably around 4:30 in the morning. Plenty of time to park and get out to the Lexington Battle Green, where we can watch the reenactment of the
I've never
shot heard around
ever witnessed a reenactment.
Oh, they're fun.
I got to see one
They're fun.
when my kids were younger, but I don't even remember what battle it was. But it was pretty cool to watch and witness.
Awesome.
And it causes the hair on the back of your neck to stand up, and
Yep.
when you see it and how it went down.
Yeah, we actually have somebody that's doing the reenactment, and they're going to be a special guest that night for us. So I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be a long day. And so at 5:30 a.m., if I'm correct, the reenactment starts. You and I are going to be there. Mike's going to be there. We're inviting anybody that wants to come and celebrate with us. We got special T-shirts. The battle continues, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's see, what else are we doing? We're doing press conference.
Yeah, there's a road race that
Lieutenant.
some people are going to be running in. I'll let you talk to that. But we're going to have a press conference, a joint press conference with Goal, the Civil Rights Coalition, and I believe Colonel Alan West will be speaking at that as well, right?
Yep, and Dick Heller should be there too.
Yep.
So
Great.
if anybody doesn't know these amazing speakers, go to the Gun Owners Action League's website, goal.org. Scroll down, check out the speakers. You can click on their underneath. There's a link, and it'll bring you right directly to their page, so you can learn more about them.
Yeah, and so after the press conference, we'll adjourn for a while, and then take it over to the.
You'll go take a power nap.
Yeah, I'm going to take a nap, and then we'll head over to the dinner event that you're putting together, and it's taking shape nicely.
And so Colonel Alan West is running, and I believe it's the 111th race.
Wow.
Yeah,
So he's running that. We hopefully we're going to have somebody run with him with a camera on their head or something. I told him that we were doing that. He laughed. He's like, "All right."
Okay.
Okay. So this is going to be a pretty amazing day, especially if we can have, if Heller and West is walking around the field with us. That's something else. That is going to be something else. I mean,
didn't Dick Heller say he was going to dress up?
Oh yeah, he wants me to dress up too.
He's a character. I like that guy.
He's all excited. He sent me a bunch of pictures. He's really stoked about being part of this. So,
Yeah.
and I think everybody should. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah, it's a once ever event,
And
honestly.
I find it kind of funny because I talk to people and they're like, what's April 19th? But, you know, again, if you're not a history buff, and when I was in high school, I wasn't either. I think I just became more fascinated about it.
I don't think they really even teach that stuff anymore at this
No,
point,
I don't
right?
think so.
I mean,
So, so what exactly does this event mean to you, Toby? I mean, this is such an amazing opportunity.
I think it is incredibly significant because, as you mentioned, the battle continues. And this isn't a Second Amendment issue as much as it really boils down and affects us around a gun rights issue. This is a fundamental constitutional rights issue that if the legislature can vote away our rights, what gave them the authority to do that? I can't find in any founding document whatsoever where they can alter or fundamentally change an enumerated right, period. Especially the one that says shall not be infringed. And here we are, and the significance of fighting the same fight that our colonists fought 250 years ago, I don't believe should be wasted. We should really proclaim that to the people of Massachusetts. And actually, I think the intent of this is to really get everybody to look in the mirror and question, if I was here 250 years ago, which side would I have been on?
Right.
It's easy to play armchair quarterback and say, oh, I would have been with the Patriots. I would have been, you know, at the Old North Bridge. I would have drawn that line in the sand. But we have that same situation playing out right now. And we hear a lot of people say, well, nobody needs, or, you know,
why do you want?
Why do you want? Or this is military style, or 18 to 20-year-olds, are they really? You know, the whole thing. And it's like, think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. You vote with, you know, your heart, and how you're acting today puts you squarely on one side or the other 250 years ago. I like to think I would have been on the right side of history 250 years ago. But when it boiled down to it, 3% of the people stand up and actually do the hard work.
And I feel like that's where we are right now. I feel like we're like the modern day sons and daughters of liberty, because now you got women that are jumping in the mix and fighting for that too. So, Mike, what does it feel for you?
Well, I would never compare myself to those guys. I mean, they legitimately put their lives and treasure up for potential sacrifice. So, I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing for a living. I enjoy doing this. This is the fight I want to be a part of. But for me, that day represents the pinnacle of we're not going to take it anymore. We're done with this. We're moving on from this system that you guys have put upon us, and we're going to try something new. So that was the kind of the pinnacle of the beginning of the slippery slope back down toward tyranny. You know, it's kind of ebbs and flows. So, you know, we're back to a point where, you know, the government is no longer respecting the natural rights of its citizens, and it's time for us to
we the people
to make a to make a stand out of it. I mean, you know, we're not telling anybody to do anything crazy at the moment, but you know, we are where we are.
But having, you know, if we can achieve the goal and actually have the 300 people in that room with the amazing speakers that we have and all the patriots that have fought so hard for the past 2 years, be there to hear the words that everyone has to say, it's like, to me, that's a shot heard around the world with their voices. And I think it's going to be amazing. It's something I'm so glad to be part of.
It should be good. I'm excited to see all those guys speak. I mean, it's a room of like a solid percentage of the real like national movers and shakers on this issue right now that are going to be all in one place to talk about it. And it's cool.
So going back to the event, right now, we do have some seats left over. So if you wanted to sit with Dick Heller at his table, we have tickets for that. I think you're sold out. Your table's sold out. Colonel West's table's sold out. We have some spots for Jared and Cam Edwards.
A couple left for Jim too, I think.
Yep, a couple for Jim. And so if you want to check that out, go to our website, gold.org. And if you want an individual ticket, we have that too. And we have sponsor tables. So I would really love to fill that room. And you know, it was funny because I was doing the program the other day and I'm like, I really wanted to see the names of everybody there, the Sons of Liberty. And I broke it down by family members. And it just blew my mind how many fathers, sons fought and sacrificed their names for freedom. And it just kind of gives you a little bit of chills to look at this list.
Well, if you really think about it,
it's crazy.
If you look at it, you know, a lot of them are the same. A lot of them have the same last name with a bunch of families. But if you really think about it, it's a lot of it's location. Like they were like the ultimate neighborhood watch.
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
Like they were like. It was a bunch of families that were like, oh, this is our neighborhood. We're going to take care of business before they move to the next one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's kind of a neat thing to think about.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the other things that is really interesting to think about is, you know, like you said, they pledged their lives, their fortunes. They knew where this was headed. Like there was no, you know, second guessing themselves. I'm sure they second guessed themselves, but they knew what was at stake. And frankly, they probably were living a pretty good life.
Yeah.
I know that tyranny ruled over them. There was the Intolerable Acts and the Stamp Act, and then the resolve that they signed on the day they did away with the Stamp Act, which said that they could affect their lives in all ways going forward. I'm paraphrasing. But so that was what they really took issue with, was the fact that there's no real way to redress your government. There's no true freedom of speech. There's no freedom, which the heart of human yearns for. And they could have suffered under the tyranny and probably lived out a decent enough life. A lot of them were wealthy, they were educated, they had families, they had farms, they had land. They were young. Yeah, a lot of them were young.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a very synoptic place right now where Massachusetts, you can, if you get a good job and you put down some roots and you bought your house when you could afford to, you can live a decent life, right? You can live under the weight of the oppression. And really waking up to the fact that it shouldn't have happened in the first place is really our job. It's our mission. We need to really take that under and say, we need to stop sympathizing with the oppressors, if you will.
Political class.
Yeah, the ruling class that creates a two-tiered justice system, that creates two classes of people, and say, yeah, I can live quite peacefully if I continue to live with Stockholm Syndrome. But it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be this way, and I reject the fact that you're trying to erode my rights. And really, my rights are firmly intact. The problem is they aren't recognizing.
Right. So did we mention in the beginning, because I can't remember, you know, the British were coming 250 years ago to take the armory in Concord. And I feel like we're still fighting that. They're still trying to take our armory, you know, so the battle continues. We're still in the same place right now. I often wonder if the Sons of Liberty could say something to us, what would they say? Right, Mike? What would
I don't
they
know.
say?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it's funny that the regulations are telling us that they've asked us not to concealed carry in the grounds. Like, oh, no firearms, no nothing. And I think it's really funny that if you're carrying that day, the cops will send you home. But if you showed up that day 250 years ago without a rifle, they'd send you home to go get it.
Right.
So I think that's really funny.
Is incredible. Yeah.
Very good point.
It's unbelievable. Like you said, the battle really does continue. And I think that you asked if they could speak to us today, what would they say? I feel the weight of the shadow that we live under. Like you were talking about the people who passed away that day and the lives that were lost and the fortunes and the families that were forever changed that day. But I believe that we live under a shadow of what they did, and it's incumbent upon us to continue to carry that chores. And I mean, it's for the sake of our children and our children's children. If we don't stand our ground and say not one more inch, then what is this place going to look like in 20, 40, 50, 60 years?
And Massachusetts is on the map. I mean, every single time you go on to YouTube, there's somebody talking about Massachusetts has lost their damn mind, which is true.
I mean, in case anybody's wondering, it takes about 250 years to subjugate people and turn them from rebels into subjects. So, you know.
Pretty empirical evidence showing that.
So, what would you both like to see happen or come out of this day? What would you like the end of the day, the next day when we wake up that Sunday? What do you think? What do you want the
energy
message to be?
I want to see some energy out of it. Goal, we're nonpartisan. We try not to pick sides, but traditionally there is one party, especially in this state, that is a lot more friendly to our issue area. So the fact that that Massachusetts as a whole is under the thumb of just single party rule at the moment, and it allows that party to adapt to things quickly, like lawsuits and stuff like that, means that it's going to be a hard time. We're going to have a hard time moving forward, even at the federal level, to get some of this stuff done, to remove some of these restrictions. So what I'd like to see is a lot more people be willing to get out there and start speaking and running for things.
Or how about voting?
Voting's great, but we need more pro-Second Amendment.
In there.
We need more pro-Second Amendment folks willing to run and put their names out there
Toby,
to seek office.
You got to run again. That's it.
Yeah. I really hope that we can do the same thing that happened 250 years ago with that shot heard around the world. That was what that meant. Like this is a significant event that really shook people up and said, wait, what just happened? We got to pay attention. We got to start to take this seriously. And it fundamentally changed the future and created the greatest country that this world has ever seen. And I want to see the people of Massachusetts start to question what it is that is eroding their rights today. And how can they get involved? Like, voting is a huge thing. We can't overlook that, because the 600,000 gun owners in Massachusetts should be looked at as a significant voting bloc. They should be looked at and taken very seriously.
Right.
Unfortunately, and a lot of times, we just want to be left alone. We're sportsmen.
We're our worst enemy in that stuff.
We just want to be left alone. We're going out. We're raising our kids. We're dragging them out to baseball and hockey, and we're going to church, and we're running a business, and we're at some other event that occupies our time. And frankly, we just want to be left alone. Well, unfortunately, the days of just sitting idly by are over. This country the state will become unrecognizable, and it's the place where the birthplace of freedom started, and we can't let it die on our watch, frankly.
I like that. We can't let it die. And I think, don't you think, Mike, that, being part of Goal, you've been part of Goal a lot longer than I have. I feel as though when HD 4420 dropped, right, and that the listening tour happened, everybody was like, "Rawr!" We had that rally, that energy at the Quincy event. That's what I would like to see. But that is...
well, it's hard to sustain. I mean, that's just one of those things. But, I think, speaking of what you were saying, Toby, I think it's funny at this point where Chapter 135 touches all aspects of being a firearms owner or a hunter or a sportsman or anything in the state. And I think it's just funny that we've gotten to a point where wanting to be left alone and saying that out loud is a political act at this point. It's just funny to me. And like you said, I'd love to see the energy kick back up again.
Do you think that a lot of Massachusetts gun owners just kind of said, that's it, I'm done?
Well, I think in history, yes. Historically, unfortunately, in non-national elections, I think it's less than 20% of gun owners vote in this state, which
that blows my mind.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-boggling statistic, because they felt disenfranchised. They feel like their vote never makes a difference. They feel like,
But
what's the
that's what
point?
they want, though.
Right. This is a very toxic way of thinking. Again, we're not considered a major voting bloc. We're insignificant.
Right.
If we all come together and say, we need to vote for our rights, and all our rights are worth preserving, and your rights are worth preserving, I'm going to vote for your rights, not just my own. They're all worth preserving. Now, all of a sudden, we can get this momentum and this energy. And one of the things that was so great to see as a result of the ballot committee that we formed was people saying, I'm going to register to vote.
Just so I can sign the petition.
Just to sign the petition, yeah,
and
that was awesome.
And then my
nice
follow-up was
byproduct.
always, and I hope you will never miss another election ever again. And they say, oh, man, my rights are significantly on the ballot. So now this is something I can get behind.
In a
and I
concrete
feel
way.
I can make a
Exactly.
difference.
And so I've been working the elections for the past 10 years. It's one of those things I love doing. I'm there from 6 in the morning to 10 o'clock,
clerk's
11
office,
o'clock
right?
at
Yeah.
night, and I love it. I love it. I love having people come in from my little town saying hi, being a face, and I'm trying to convince everyone else that their vote does matter, and that's what they want. They want us to think that their vote doesn't matter, and it does. It absolutely does. So don't let that take you away from the fact that you need to vote who we need in, and vote those that we want out.
I mean, it's tough advocating for a political solution to this stuff because, we are where we are, and the landscape is what it is. But in order to change that, you need to knock over a couple of dominoes. So,
the good
that's kind of
news
where we
is,
start.
There's good news?
yes,
There's always
I would
good
say
news.
it's a good news with some bad news tied to it.
Uh-oh.
And that is, out of the 100,000 signatures we gathered, 70% of the people who signed that petition were non-gun owners.
I love it.
That's the good
pretty
news.
cool.
The bad news is that means 30,000 gun owners signed. It's like, okay, we could have taken care of this all within our own
Our
community.
Yeah, because we have 600, probably
Right.
more than that, right?
Yeah.
600,000 gun owners right
Yeah.
now. It's
Right.
probably definitely more.
Where are
But
the
the
other?
fact that we didn't is kind of a black eye to us. Maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe you didn't hear about it, which is fine. Again, we just want to be left alone, right? But the truth of the matter is 70% who care about their rights, even if they don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak.
You do have a dog in the fight.
Oh, you do. Absolutely, you do. And I would break it down like this. If any of our rights are so fragile that they can be voted away or fundamentally changed by a simple majority vote at the Beacon Hill and a signature by the governor, then A, they're not rights.
Right.
And B, our elected officials view themselves as the grantor of rights because they can change them. If that's the case, then we're living in the Truman Show, and it's only a matter of time before the House of Cards comes down. I think it's better to say, hey, let's all get on the same page for the preservation of our enumerated rights, and that goes for all our rights. It's not just the ones that touch fingers with the Second Amendment that's causing us to get involved. I feel this way about all of our enumerated rights.
Yeah. No quartering soldiers in my house.
That's right. Yeah. And, I think when you look at the brilliance of the Founding Fathers and how they organized the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the articles around the powers, and you look at this 10th Amendment, which says, this is what the limits of government are, our federal government, and anything else is the people and the states.
The states.
Right.
And the states can't circumvent and short circuit our rights. They can't do that. So, but all the stuff about roads and bridges and canals and waterways and all that are reserved for the states, right? And so, but the truth of the matter is, the people are the true fountain of power.
Right.
And like Mike said, we're not asking anyone to do anything crazy, which is right. We have something that our founders did not have, a peaceful resolution to all of this.
Right.
And unfortunately, we're standing in the shadow. We talk about that tree of liberty that was watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Now it's incumbent upon us to fertilize the ground with peaceful resolutions and say, hey, our rights are worth fighting for. These are worth giving up some time or some money and a signature here and there, and maybe go hold a sign for someone, or maybe go run for an office, however insignificant. And that's what'll get us back on track and reclaim the lost
So
ground.
we have another part that we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Chapter 135. Like, people that are looking at this show right now might not necessarily understand why we are so like revved up about this anniversary date. So stay tuned. But Mike, before we go, any last words?
No, I mean, I just join goal.org. We're,
Yeah.
we're doing everything we can via litigation, political advocacy, working with clubs, training, just to get people to be responsible gun owners. And part of being a responsible gun owner, especially in Massachusetts, is to know the laws and to advocate for
Exactly.
yourself.
So there's a quote from Captain Parker. It says, "Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." I love that. So, all right, so stay tuned. We'll be back.